edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in the San Gabriel Valley today, joined by the Mayor Pro Tem of West Covina. His name is Mike Spence. Sir, I want to speak with you about the continuing controversy surrounding, we'll call it sanctuary cities, however you may define that. We don't know. A lot of definitions are flying around. What we do know, though, is that the state of California is looking at becoming a sanctuary state. That's a new theory, new concept. We have about 3 million undocumented in our state. Allegedly, it's hard to really know. What has West Covina done as it relates to what's known as SB 54? Sanctuary state?
Well, actually, our city council voted 4-1 to oppose SB 54. And that bill that was going through, is going through, it's now in the state assembly. And actually, we actually had a press conference with one of the main opponents, State Senator Joel Anderson, and we had the mayor of Walnut and the mayor of Sierra Madre, San Marino, and the mayor pro tem of Arcadia were there to express their opposition to SB 54 as well.
What SB 54 will do if it passes is still up for debate. It's complicated. There are a lot of moving parts. But what we do know is that the proponents of 54 are trying to limit interaction between local law enforcement and state law enforcement with federal immigration officials. It's a huge generalization.
Right, and they've changed the bill too.
Right.
Like right after our press conference, they changed some of our objections to the bill. They changed some of them.
So
still a bad bill.
Why? Yeah, talk to us about why, even though there are moving parts, you are concerned about the general focus of SB 54.
Well, SB 54 is the central government in Sacramento deciding what's important for local law enforcement and what information that we are allowed to share as local law enforcement. We have our own police force with the Immigration Customs Enforcement.
Right.
But not only that, what information we can receive from Immigration Customs and Enforcement. And it's designed to simply protect everybody in the state of California who's not here legally, but it does more than that. It doesn't just protect people that are here illegally, it protects people that have committed crimes here that should be deported, and that's an issue.
You brought up an interesting point, the central government in Sacramento, because what Sacramento is saying is there is a tension between state governments and federal government. And what they're trying to say is we have a state right to act in a certain way. We haven't really heard that tension as it relates between state and local as much. It's always the tension between federal and state. But you bring up something I think it's worthy of conversation, is this kind of tension.
I do agree with you, and until this year, in Sacramento, every time a local government or a state wanted to do something on the immigration issue, they would say it's a federal issue, it's up to the federal government. So, but now, this year, because of the change in who's in the White House, they've changed that argument, and they've taken a really hardcore George Wallace style approach to government, where the federal government has no say in what goes on in federal laws in the state of California.
Let's take the flip side. Our friends in Texas have gone in the other direction. And in Texas, they are saying that no city can ever become a sanctuary city. What do you think of that?
Right, and I don't know, I'm not familiar with the law, so I don't know if that's just a funding issue, because we've had bills in California that would stop the funding of police departments with state dollars that were sanctuary cities that didn't go anywhere. So I don't know enough about that particular bill to see where that works. But obviously there's this tension, and it's grown bigger because of the change in the White House over what to do. And the sad part about it is I hope we would have a consensus that if you're here illegally and you've committed a serious crime, that we don't want you here anymore.
But I do think
I actually think that that's exactly what Kevin DeLeon's bill does.
He's the Senate Pro Tem.
Yeah, it limits our ability to deal with people that are here that are criminals.
Well, I'm sure he would differ. Because if you look at the specifics of the law, they are allowing interaction between local law enforcement and ICE as it relates to those that have committed certain crimes. Again, it's hard to even get through the language of the bill. But what we know...
There's actually... Okay.
Please, no.
Well, I mean, there's a prohibition actually on local law enforcement from receiving information from Immigration Customs and Enforcement that is not publicly available. So if ICE wants to send us something, we can't receive it. And it doesn't make any sense. That's not how you do law enforcement. You have to share information, and especially when we're dealing with criminal networks, And those are the people that we're talking about here. We're not talking about dreamers. This is the worst thing that can happen to someone that's a dreamer, because it's going to force ICE. They're not going to stop doing their job. It's going to force them to go into their communities to find people that have warrants out.
It's funny you mention that, because the sheriff of Los Angeles County and Sacramento County have both come out in opposition to SB 54. And that's part of what they said. They were concerned that if you limit the ability of ICE to go into the jails, what they're going to have to do is go into the communities.
Exactly.
But here's another point that I think is worthy of consideration. The Los Angeles City Police Chief, not the county sheriff, but police chief, Charlie Beck, has provided the following statistical information. Now, before I give you this, he says that it's still very early, so we don't know if we can extrapolate. But what he does know is that reports of sexual assaults among Latinos are down 25% March to March, meaning March 2016 to March 2017. Spousal complaints amongst Latinos down almost 10%. And if you compare that to non-Latinos, the numbers are quite dramatic. Only a 3% drop among non-Latinos for sexual assault and a 4% drop for spousal abuse complaints. Is that because of fear surrounding immigration? We don't know, but the early statistics say that there might be a correlation.
Well, actually, it depends on, I'd be more curious about the election, about the 2016 numbers. I noticed they go to March 2016. What's the numbers for all of 2016 before the election? And then compare it. I mean, that would be,
it's so early.
That would
Very
be much
well
more
stated.
valid. The other thing is there's an assumption that all people that are here illegally are Latino in those statistics as well.
We know they're
wrong.
Asian.
I think that's wrong.
Right.
There's 50,000 illegal Canadians in California or something like that.
But
So
it's
in fact, a Canadian illegal immigrant who was involved in someone who died up in San Jose was recently deported after her term was done.
But it's hard to deny.
So it's hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard to deny that Latinos do feel a sense of anxiety surrounding the current environment.
I would say that there are some people that are trying to raise that anxiety level among some segments of the Latino population.
Are you concerned, though, that if we do have that connection grow between local law enforcement and federal immigration, that there will be less interaction between communities and law enforcement out of generalized fear? They may be documented, but they may have an undocumented aunt or cousin, and so they just don't want to get involved.
Well, I think people not getting involved is a problem to begin with, but I have to think that no matter what someone's status is, if there's someone that is a serious criminal in your community, you want them gone.
Right.
And so it may have to be better policing, or there has to be other ways of dealing with it. I'm not saying that fear and that anxiety is not real, but I'm saying that the anxiety of having criminals in your community that we know that we could have done something about, I think that's a bigger problem that we need to deal with.
What do you think is going to happen with SB 54? Do you think
Well, I think it's going to pass in some kind of version. We'll see what happens at the federal level, because we don't know what the standards are going to be if they do shut off funding for sanctuary cities.
What's so interesting is, and we only have a couple seconds, but cities really don't have a lot of true interaction with ICE. It's really the counties, because they're the ones that are holding.
Well, the jail part of it, but on the criminal end, if there's warrants that are being served and things like that in cities, they would be cooperation.
I want you to come back and talk more about this, because it's an issue. It's really an issue of our day.
Anytime.
His name is Mike Spence. He's the mayor pro tem of the city of West Covina. We're in the San Gabriel Valley today. My name is Brad Pomerance. You're watching us on Local Edition.